Ali can dance just like that guy. Welcome back to Velshi and Rule. That was one of the many commercials that have become as iconic as the products they sell, and all of it paid off big time yesterday when Apple became the first publicly traded company in U.S. history to hit $1 trillion in value. That's one with 12 zeros after it. To put things in perspective, the U.S. gross domestic product, GDP, is valued at just over $20 trillion. That means Apple's value is 5% of the overall economy, and a huge chunk for one single company. It is remarkable for a company that was only started in 1976 by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, where they created their Apple I desktop computers. Remember, this was back when consumer computers were considered a very small market. Most computers then were giant machines, and they were in universities, corporations, or government buildings. In 1984, the Macintosh came out. It, for many, was an ever-present machine, fighting for space with the likes of IBM, launched with this iconic ad from Super Bowl 18.
One will, one resolve, one cause. Our enemies shall talk themselves to death, and we will bury them with their own confusion. We shall prevail.
On January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh. And you'll see why 1984 won't be like 1984.
Let's get depressed, stock pickers, if you missed this one. If you bought Apple stock back in the 80s, say $1,000 worth, it would have grown to $500,000 by today. Over the years, Apple released newer computers, from the Macintosh to the iMac to laptops like the PowerBook and the MacBook Air. And as the company grew, it branched out to devices far beyond computers, from iPods, launched back in 2001, to the iPhone, which was 6 years later, iPads in 2010, and now Apple Watches. The company helped digitize and deviceify, that's a new word for you, our daily life. Part and parcel with all that is marketing, the logo evolving over the years, and the ads like the famous "I'm a Mac, I'm a PC" jab, which is aimed at the competing operating system. And it has become an ever-present part of our lives. Just think about this. On just our show team alone, and I'm not saying anyone is an Apple enthusiast. Somehow this happened. It's like it infiltrated our system. We've got more than 100 Apple products between the 16 people on our team. More than 8 different devices, computers and peripherals per person. And that is just the ones we and our families currently use. This morning, we spoke to Chief Marketing Officer at RX Advance, John Sculley, who was the CEO of Apple, really at a very formative time of the business, that from 1983 to 1993.
Before we go to that, I have to show you these old. This is fun. This is one of the first laptops they had. This is when it was still called a Macintosh. This was the PowerBook Duo. Look at the little trackball on this one, and then look at this little array of iPods that we have up here.
But Ali, the thing that's so interesting, think about when we talk about all the people on our team that use Apple.
Yeah.
These are expensive, high-margin products.
Right.
But the hook that Apple figured out, once you're in that ecosystem,
you buy other stuff.
You buy other stuff. It's massive.
They
it's
want
not
$1,000 for their new phone. $1,000. And I was definitely one of those people who said, all right, it's going to slow down because everybody's got what they need. I don't need this is a 6. This is a few generations ago. But I don't actually think I need anything more for it to do. But the bottom line is the design and the ease of use is really what was behind this company. Because remember, when Apple started, and when John Sculley, who we're about to talk to, was there, the internet didn't even exist. Young people, that wasn't, that was not that long ago. We asked John Sculley, looking back from his Internet of Things era, what were they building and for whom?
Well, actually, the World Wide Web began several years after I left Apple. So the whole time I was at Apple, it was basically the vision of Steve Jobs that no one else in the world agreed with. And that was, Steve said back in the early 80s, that computers going to have a great future for non-technical people who didn't know how to really use computers, so therefore they had to be simple to use, and they were going to focus on graphics. And what we did in the early 80s was desktop publishing. So I always think a good definition of genius is being able to see the obvious 20 years ahead of the rest of us, and obviously Steve Jobs did.
Even beyond Apple, look at the outsized power thing Facebook, Apple, Netflix, Google, these companies have, and how massive they are, how outweighed they are by the rest of the companies in the overall market. You know, we're not talking about the power of defense companies anymore. Let's talk about
pharma or tobacco. It's all tech.
Yeah, well, that's true, and I don't see it slowing down, quite honestly. It's all about land grab. You know, the U.S. companies are masters at being able to pick a vision, focus on it, and then scale it. The challenge is that we're now seeing in China that they have learned to do something that we don't know how to do yet, and that is what I call speed to scale. That means that if you look at a company like Ofo, which is a bike rental company in China, started just a couple of years ago, they now rent 35 million bicycles a day, and they're projecting next year that they'll be renting 300 million bicycles a day. We don't know how to build a company that fast. So there are skills that we have with innovation of technology, but technology is commoditizing so rapidly. The Chinese are saying they don't care about who owns the intellectual property. They'll just use it, even if it's ours, but they understand speed of scale in their very large domestic markets. So the ground rules of competition, even in tech, are starting to change on a global scale.
What do you make of Apple's ability to win our loyalty? Today, we're not loyal to many companies.
Right.
But once you become an Apple user, once it is in your home, it's a hard system to quit.
Well, it has very little to do with technology. It has everything to do with experience marketing. And when Steve Jobs recruited me to Apple, I didn't know anything about computers, but he was impressed with the fact that during the cola wars of the 1970s, that Pepsi had been outsold 10 to 12 to 1 by Coca-Cola in about 50% of the United States, and yet by the end of the decade, Pepsi had become the largest selling consumer product in the world, or largest selling consumer product in the United States. And the way we did that was we said Coca-Cola owns reality. Perception leads reality. We got to own perception. And so we created the Pepsi Challenge. We did other things to own the experience. And Steve said, you got to teach me how to do that because I'm building this experience product. And Apple does it today. It's all about the experience. That's what locks in the loyalty with consumers. Great design, great experience, great materials, great image prestige to have an Apple product. People love them and probably will continue to decades ahead.
Hey, MSNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there and click on any of the videos here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more MSNBC for free every day with our newsletters. Just visit msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up now.